Adrian Cross had never imagined that a routine mission would turn into the most important moment of his life. The human fleet had been deployed to the outer edge of the Orion sector, a region known for its harsh asteroid fields and constant pirate activity. Orders were simple: rescue any stranded humans or allies and return safely. But when the distress signal reached Adrian's ship, the Falcon's Pride, he knew it was unlike anything he had encountered before. The signal was not human. It carried a rhythm and tone that the translators could barely decipher. Yet Adrian felt a pull, an instinct telling him that someone or something was in desperate need of help. That instinct had served him well in the past, and he trusted it now more than ever. The journey to the source of the signal was dangerous. The asteroid field stretched for light years, and sensors barely penetrated the shifting rocks and hidden debris. The ship's engines hummed steadily as Adrian's team navigated through narrow passages, dodging massive tumbling rocks that could crush the ship with a single miscalculation. Every second was tense, and every crew member knew that one mistake could end their lives. Finally, after hours of careful maneuvering, the signal's origin came into view. It was a structure massive and ancient orbiting a dead moon. Its surface was dark and jagged, unlike anything in human records. The structure had clearly suffered great damage. There were burn marks, torn metal plates, and deep gashes as if some enormous force had ripped it apart. Adrian's heart raced. Someone inside had survived all of this, but for how long? "Prepare for boarding," Adrian ordered. His voice was calm, but his hands gripped the railing tightly. He was not just a soldier today. He was a rescuer. Every instinct told him that hesitation could cost lives. The boarding team suited up and the airlock hissed open. Outside, the vacuum of space pressed against their suits, but Adrian focused on the task. He led the team down the narrow corridor of the alien ship, their flashlights cutting through the darkness. Strange symbols decorated the walls, glowing faintly in colors humans could only describe as impossible. The air inside was thin, recycled through ancient life support systems barely functioning. Every step echoed with the weight of centuries. Then they found her. Queen Sarathis. She was unlike anything Adrian had ever seen. Tall, with a presence that commanded attention, her skin shimmered with faint iridescence. Her eyes were deep, almost liquid, reflecting the dim light of the corridor. She was restrained by energy cuffs, her posture regal even in captivity. Despite her chains, she radiated authority and intelligence. Adrian felt a strange mixture of awe and fear. "Commander Adrian Cross," she said, her voice melodic but firm, echoing slightly in the hollow chamber. "I have heard of your people's courage. It seems your reputation is not exaggerated." Adrian swallowed, surprised. "You know who I am?" he asked, scanning the room for traps or hidden enemies. "I know many things," Sarathis replied, "but knowledge means little if action does not follow. You have come. That is what matters." Adrian took a deep breath. "We are here to get you out. That's all that matters right now." The Queen's eyes softened slightly, though her expression remained composed. "Very well. But be warned, Commander. The path ahead will not be easy. This ship is full of dangers, traps, residual defense systems, and others who will not let me go quietly." Adrian nodded, already calculating the risks. "We don't leave anyone behind. Not humans, not allies, and certainly not you." The rescue began. As they moved through the ship, the team encountered automated defense drones, long dead but still functional in parts. Adrian's training came into play. He led the team with precision, disabling the drones with minimal damage, careful not to harm Sarathis. Each encounter proved the humans' ingenuity and adaptability. While the alien technology was unfamiliar, the crew quickly learned its patterns and weaknesses, turning obstacles into opportunities. Sarathis watched them silently, her expression unreadable, yet there was something in her gaze that hinted at approval. She had seen countless species in her long life, many far stronger than humans in body or intellect, yet these humans moved with a kind of reckless courage she had never encountered. They adapted, risked themselves for others, and acted without hesitation. She could not help but respect them. Hours passed. The corridors twisted like a labyrinth, and at every corner another challenge awaited. Energy fields blocked the way, and ancient security locks had to be bypassed. Adrian worked closely with his team, showing patience and determination. The human mind, he knew, had a way of solving problems that no technology could predict. Finally, they reached the central chamber where Sarathis had been held. Adrian disabled the remaining restraints with his multi-tool, careful not to trigger any alarms. As the cuffs released, she stepped forward with grace, every movement precise and deliberate. "You have risked much for me," she said softly. "Most would have left me here." Adrian shook his head. "We don't leave anyone behind. That's how humans survive and how we honor those worth saving." For the first time, a faint smile touched her lips. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but Adrian noticed. The queen, the legendary Sarathis of the Clyari, smiled at a human. That small gesture, simple as it was, carried the weight of centuries, but there was no time to linger. Alarms suddenly blared, piercing the silence of the ship. Automated defense systems, triggered by their movements, activated fully. Doors began to close, cutting off escape routes. The humans and Sarathis had to act quickly. Adrian took command. "Move, follow me," he shouted. The team responded immediately, covering each other and Sarathis as they fought their way toward the airlock. Energy blasts lit the corridors, reflecting off the metallic walls. The humans pressed forward using strategy and improvisation, while Sarathis demonstrated skills Adrian had never expected. She was not just a queen in name. She was trained in combat and tactics, a true warrior. Together they reached the airlock. Adrian initiated the sequence, and the heavy door slowly opened to the vacuum of space. Outside, the Falcon's Pride hovered, ready to receive them. But a massive piece of debris floated in the path, threatening collision. Adrian's mind raced. "Sarathis, hold on!" He piloted their small boarding craft with skill born of countless missions, maneuvering through the debris with inches to spare. Sarathis, gripping the seat, showed no fear, her calmness steadying the humans beside her. Finally, they docked with the Falcon's Pride. Safety. The Queen was safe. Adrian exhaled, a mixture of relief and disbelief washing over him. Sarathis stepped onto the ship, looking around at the humans who had risked everything for her. "You have done what few could," she said, her voice filled with quiet admiration. "For that you have my respect and my gratitude." Adrian simply nodded, feeling the weight of the moment. He had saved a queen, faced dangers beyond imagination, and seen humanity's courage reflected in every member of his team. But deep down he sensed this was only the beginning. The universe was vast, and the bond forged today would change everything. For him, for humanity, and for the queen he had saved. The Falcon's Pride glided silently through the void, leaving the shattered alien stronghold behind. Inside, the air was tense but alive with unspoken questions. Adrian Cross sat in the command chair, his eyes fixed on the viewport where stars streaked past, each one a reminder of the vastness of space. Around him, the crew quietly tended to their equipment and one another, repairing minor suit damage and monitoring the ship's systems. They had survived something that could have easily ended their lives, and the weight of that reality hung in the air. Sarathis remained standing near the center of the bridge, her posture elegant and commanding despite the exhaustion that surely coursed through her. She had observed every move during the rescue, every decision, every risk Adrian and his team had taken. It was not just the fact that they had saved her that impressed her, it was how they had done it. They had adapted, thought creatively, and shown no hesitation in the face of overwhelming odds. That combination of intelligence, courage, and compassion was something rare in the galaxy. Adrian glanced at her and felt a strange mix of respect and curiosity. Here was a being centuries old, a queen of an alien race, and yet she had been vulnerable, frightened, chained, dependent on humans. And still there was something undeniably regal about her, something that refused to be diminished even in captivity. "You have been quiet since we left the stronghold," Adrian said carefully, breaking the silence. "Are you all right?" Sarathis's eyes met his, and there was a flicker of emotion that seemed almost human. "I am alive," she replied, her voice calm but carrying layers of meaning. "That is more than I expected when you first appeared." Adrian allowed himself a small, dry laugh. "I've had that effect on people before," he said lightly, though his heart was not in humor. The situation was far too serious for joking, and yet he felt the need to ease the tension. Sarathis inclined her head slightly. "I did not doubt your skill, but I had not expected the loyalty. The determination you and your team displayed, it is uncommon." The ship lurched slightly as it passed through a dense asteroid cluster, and Adrian gripped the edge of his chair. "We don't leave anyone behind," he said simply. "That's how humans survive. That's how we honor those worth saving. Her eyes softened again and she stepped closer, her movements fluid and measured. You speak as though loyalty and honor are simple concepts. I have seen countless species in the galaxy, Commander, and very few live by such ideals. Yet you embody them. Adrian felt a strange warmth rise in his chest. He had spent his life training, fighting, and surviving. He had followed orders and risked his life countless times, but no praise, no recognition had ever struck him as deeply as this. And it was not just her words, it was the way she spoke them. The gravity behind each syllable. The ship's communication officer interrupted gently. Commander, we're picking up an incoming transmission from Human Command. They've detected unusual readings near the system we just passed. Adrian nodded. Patch it through, he said, straightening in his chair. He knew the higher command would want details immediately, but in the back of his mind he also worried about what the report might trigger. Questions, scrutiny, even interference. The screen flickered to life, showing the stern face of Admiral Vega. Cross? Report, the Admiral barked, no preamble necessary. We received the distress signal and have been tracking your progress. Status? Adrian responded quickly. Admiral, we have successfully extracted the subject, Queen Sarathis of the Clayari. She is aboard and unharmed. The ship is secure, though the alien vessel is in ruins. There was a pause on the screen. Vega's eyes narrowed. The Clayari? Are you aware of the political implications? That queen has been missing for decades. This could shift alliances across multiple sectors. Adrian nodded. Yes, sir. We understand the risk, but our priority was to ensure her safety. She is stable and capable of communication. The Admiral's expression softened slightly, though the weight of command remained. Very well. Maintain course to the nearest safe station. Prepare for high-level debriefing. And Cross? Make no mistakes. The galaxy will be watching this closely. Acknowledged, Adrian said, ending the transmission. He leaned back, releasing a slow breath. The tension in the room lifted slightly, but the weight of responsibility remained. Sarathis studied him with quiet curiosity. Your people risked much for me, she said, and yet you do not appear concerned with the politics or consequences. You act first, think later, and trust in what is right. That is extraordinary. Adrian shrugged, trying to appear casual. Sometimes you have to act on instinct. Waiting or worrying doesn't help anyone who's in danger. The Queen's lips curved into a faint smile. Instinct is often underestimated by those who rely solely on strategy. You have proven that intuition combined with courage can achieve remarkable outcomes. Hours passed as the Falcon's Pride glided through empty space. Sarathis explored the ship under careful supervision, observing the humans and their equipment. She asked questions, many questions about human technology, culture, and even philosophy. The crew answered patiently, fascinated to see her engage with such intelligence and curiosity. Adrian found himself drawn into conversation with her as well. They discussed star systems, the challenges of interstellar navigation, and the differences between human and Clayari society. Each exchange revealed more about her wisdom, her keen perception, and her capacity for understanding. Adrian realized he was not only learning about her people, but also seeing humanity reflected in her responses, curiosity, empathy, and adaptability. That night, in the quiet of the ship's observation deck, Adrian found himself alone with Sarathis for a brief moment. The stars stretched infinitely outside the viewport, their light glinting across her iridescent skin. You seem different from what I expected, Adrian said. I thought a queen would be distant, untouchable. But you're approachable yet commanding, intelligent yet human in ways I didn't expect. Sarathis regarded him thoughtfully. Perhaps we are not so different after all. Humanity and the Clayari share one trait above all, the desire to endure, to protect what we value. I see that in you, Commander, and it is compelling. Adrian felt a shiver run down his spine. There was something in her words that resonated deeply. He had risked everything to save her, but now he realized that the act had done more than preserve her life. It had sparked a connection that neither of them could ignore. Over the next days, as the ship continued toward the safe station, the bond between Adrian and Sarathis deepened. She observed the humans' interactions, their teamwork, and their empathy for one another. She watched as Adrian mediated disputes, encouraged his crew, and faced challenges with unwavering calm. In every action, he demonstrated the very qualities she had admired during their first encounter. courage, ingenuity, and selflessness. At night, when the stars were bright and the hum of the ship was the only sound, they would often converse quietly. Sarathis asked about Earth, about human history, and about the small triumphs and failures that shaped Adrian's life. In return, he asked about Cleari traditions, their ways of governance, and the stories of her people. These conversations revealed not only knowledge but a growing mutual respect, and something more subtle, a shared understanding that words alone could not capture. Yet the journey was not without tension. Not all aboard the Falcon's Pride were comfortable with a Cleari queen on board. Some crew members whispered about political consequences, the dangers of involvement with alien royalty, and the potential for conflict. Adrian addressed these concerns with patience and authority, reminding his crew that survival, loyalty, and honor were paramount. In the quiet moments, Sarathis observed how he balanced leadership with compassion, a balance she had rarely seen among rulers of her experience. One evening, as the ship drifted past a nebula that glowed in shades of violet and gold, Sarathis approached Adrian on the observation deck. "Commander," she said softly, "I owe you more than my life. I do not know the ways of your people well enough to express what I feel. But it is not merely gratitude. You have awakened something in me." Adrian turned to her, meeting her gaze. "You saved me too," he said quietly. "In a way I didn't realize until now. You reminded me why I do what I do. Why humans do what we do. We act for each other, for what is right. You reminded me that our actions matter, not just for survival but for trust, loyalty, and hope." For a long moment they stood together in silence, watching the stars. The vastness of space stretched endlessly before them, but within the observation deck, there was a quiet understanding forming, a bond forged in danger, respect, and shared purpose. The Falcon's Pride moved steadily onward, carrying the humans and their extraordinary passenger toward an uncertain future. But one thing had become clear. Whatever awaited them, Adrian and Sarathis were no longer simply rescuer and rescued. Something deeper, something uniquely human had begun to grow between them. A connection that would challenge, inspire, and ultimately change the course of both their lives. The Falcon's Pride drifted through a quiet sector of space, its engines a low hum against the background of distant stars. Adrian Cross stood at the edge of the observation deck, arms crossed, watching a cluster of sparkling suns twist in colors that seemed impossible. He had never grown tired of this view. The endless expanse reminded him how small individual struggles were, yet how meaningful human courage could be. Sarathis joined him silently, her steps soundless on the metallic floor. She lingered beside him, not touching but close enough that her presence drew his attention. They had spent countless hours in conversation over the past days, and now, silence was their companion, comfortable rather than awkward. "The stars are different from what I remember," she said softly, her eyes reflecting distant light. "Your species sees patterns and chaos that my people often overlook. It is beautiful." Adrian glanced at her, surprised by the subtle warmth in her tone. "We find beauty in survival, I guess," he said, "in understanding the unknown and making it ours. Every challenge is an opportunity to learn." She considered his words, nodding slowly. "You are not like others I have encountered. Most humans I observed from afar are quick to fight, slow to reflect. She paused, searching for the right word. "You are patient, yet decisive when it matters." Adrian chuckled quietly. "That's a dangerous combination in space. People either rush into action or freeze under pressure. You've seen both sides of us already." Sarathis's lips curved into a faint smile. "Yes, I have. And I have learned that courage and compassion can coexist. That is rare. Your people are remarkable." Her praise made Adrian shift slightly. He had grown used to respect earned through rank or accomplishment, but hers felt different. Personal, intentional, meaningful. A quiet tension simmered between them, subtle yet undeniable, as though the vastness of space had compressed their world into the narrow circle of understanding they shared. The calm, however, was soon interrupted by a communication alert. Adrian turned, motioning to the officer at the console. "Patch it through," he ordered. The screen flickered to life, revealing the stern, unyielding face of Admiral Vega. "Cross, I see you've stabilized the Queen," Vega said without preamble. "We need an update on her condition, your route, and any contacts with alien authorities," Adrian answered, detailing the Queen's health, the state of the Falcon's Pride, and the measures taken to ensure both safety and discretion. Sarathis remained standing silently behind him, her presence calm and measured. When the report ended, Vega's eyes narrowed. Cross, understand this. Queen Sarathis is more than a high-profile alien. Her position has political ramifications across multiple sectors. The Cleary Council will expect consultation. Your actions, while brave, have put humanity at the center of interstellar attention. You are responsible for maintaining her safety and your crew's integrity. Do you understand? I understand, sir, Adrian said, meeting the Admiral's gaze. We will proceed with caution, but we also will not compromise anyone's safety for politics. Vega's expression softened slightly. Good, keep me informed. And Cross, trust your instincts, but remember that every decision you make now will be scrutinized. The galaxy is watching. The screen went dark, leaving Adrian and Sarathis alone again. He exhaled slowly, feeling the tension drain slightly. You are careful, Sarathis remarked. Your people by nature seem impulsive, yet you balance instinct with foresight. It is admirable, Adrian smiled faintly. I learned early that space doesn't forgive mistakes. You adapt or you die. Simple as that. She studied him, her gaze lingering longer than necessary. And yet you risked yourself to save me. You did not calculate the political consequences or weigh the benefits. You acted because it was right, that is extraordinary. Adrian felt a warmth in his chest. He had never considered his choices heroic. To him it was simply survival, loyalty, and humanity. But her words, careful, deliberate, made him question what courage and honor truly meant. Days passed, and the bond between them deepened. They worked together to coordinate the ship's route, ensuring the fastest path to a neutral station while avoiding sectors controlled by factions that might take advantage of the Queen's presence. Sarathis's knowledge of galactic politics and human diplomacy proved invaluable. She warned Adrian of subtle traps, cultural misunderstandings, and diplomatic risks he had not considered. During one quiet night, as the Falcon's Pride glided past a glowing nebula, Sarathis approached Adrian again. Commander, she said softly, I wish to speak openly without concern for duty or politics. You have demonstrated qualities in your people that I had thought extinct. Loyalty, courage, ingenuity. But more than that, you have shown me trust. Rare, precious, and unsettling. Adrian looked at her carefully. Unsettling? He asked, curious. She nodded slowly. Yes, to feel that someone would risk everything for me. Not out of obligation, not for gain. It is confusing. I am not used to feeling seen in this way. Adrian considered her words. You've spent a long time in isolation. Leadership always comes first. Maybe it's not confusion, it's acknowledgement. Someone finally recognizes what matters. Sarathis's eyes met his, intense and unflinching. Perhaps, but it is more than recognition. There is a connection forming. I do not fully understand it yet, but I sense it growing stronger. Adrian felt a pulse of something unfamiliar. Awareness, curiosity, and caution all at once. Connection, he repeated. You mean, between us? She inclined her head. Yes, that is one way to describe it. Another is respect intertwined with trust, admiration, and something I cannot name. Something that is not duty, nor fear, nor obligation. I feel it, yet I am unsure of its implications. Adrian's mind raced. The political consequences alone were complex enough. Humans and Cleary interacting in this manner could ripple across multiple sectors. And yet the human instinct to respond to connection, to trust, to care, overrode caution. He understood the risk, but he also felt the truth of her words. You're not alone in that, he said quietly. I feel it too. And while it's complicated, I think it matters. For the first time, a small, genuine smile touched Sarathis's lips. I suspected as much. Your people speak of courage as action. Perhaps it is also emotion, a willingness to risk, to trust, to reach beyond the expected. Over the next several days, their conversations deepened. They shared personal stories, fragments of their pasts, and small confessions. Adrian told her of his upbringing on a remote human colony, of how survival had shaped his choices, and of the people he loved who had influenced him. Sarathis spoke of Cleary traditions, of centuries of leadership, of loss and triumph, and of the loneliness that accompanied ruling an entire civilization. Through these exchanges, Adrian began to understand the weight she carried. Centuries of responsibility, centuries of observing failure and betrayal. She had rarely been able to let anyone close. Yet she trusted him. And in that trust, Adrian felt both awe and responsibility. The Falcon's Pride finally approached the neutral station, a sprawling hub of commerce, diplomacy, and human presence. The station was neutral territory, a place where neither humans nor Clayari could claim dominance, yet where alliances and rivalries intersected. Adrian and Sarathis prepared for arrival, ensuring security protocols were tight. The political stakes were high, but the Queen's safety remained paramount. Before docking, Sarathis stood beside Adrian on the bridge, her gaze steady. "Commander," she said softly, "whatever awaits us there, know this. You have earned my respect and high trust. Few beings have ever commanded such loyalty from me. Fewer still have inspired me to hope." Adrian felt the weight of her words, heavy yet exhilarating. "We'll get through this," he said firmly. Together. The station's docking bay loomed ahead, lights flickering against the dark expanse of space. As the ship descended, both humans and Clayari would witness a moment that could change the balance of interstellar relations. And yet for Adrian and Sarathis, the most significant change had already begun. Not politics, not diplomacy, but a connection that was uniquely human, uniquely alive, and quietly extraordinary. As the Falcon's Pride docked, Adrian and Sarathis exchanged a glance, an unspoken acknowledgement of shared trials, shared trust, and the beginning of something neither had anticipated. The galaxy was vast, unpredictable, and often cruel. But here, aboard this human vessel, two very different beings had discovered a truth that transcended politics. Courage, loyalty, and trust could bridge worlds. And in that bridge there was hope. The Falcon's Pride had finally docked at the neutral station, a massive structure orbiting a gas giant. Its exterior glowed faintly in the reflection of the nearby sun, lights blinking across docking bays, research facilities, and marketplaces teeming with species from every corner of the galaxy. Adrian cross-guided the ship to a secure bay, carefully avoiding interference from other docked vessels. His mind raced with calculations, protocols, and the responsibility of ensuring the Queen's safety. Sarathis remained near the viewport, her form silhouetted against the swirling clouds of the gas giant below. She was silent, contemplative, her eyes reflecting both curiosity and concern. Adrian had grown accustomed to her quiet moments. They were often a prelude to something significant. "Commander," she said softly, breaking the silence, "we are entering a place where my presence will be questioned, scrutinized, and perhaps even challenged. You understand what this means for you, do you not?" Adrian looked at her carefully. "I do. I understand that having a Clayari Queen on board puts my crew, my ship, and myself in a position of scrutiny. But I also understand that we've faced worse. We'll handle it together just like we did before." Sarathis inclined her head slightly. "Your courage is admirable, human. It is rare for someone to willingly risk themselves for another without consideration of political consequences. That quality, it is something my people lost long ago." Adrian nodded quietly, unsure how to respond. There was a warmth in her voice, an acknowledgement that went beyond respect. He felt it, and it stirred something deep within him, a mixture of pride, responsibility, and curiosity. The docking procedure completed, and the ship settled onto the platform with minimal vibration. Security protocols engaged immediately as expected. Both human and neutral station security forces were present, ensuring that no unauthorized beings could approach. Adrian and his team began preparations to escort Sarathis to a private meeting area, where station officials would verify her identity and discuss her safe passage. The corridor to the station's administrative hub was crowded with beings of every shape, size, and color. Adrian's team moved with precision, forming a protective formation around Sarathis. Even in captivity, she moved with elegance and authority, her presence commanding attention despite the chaos. Many station inhabitants paused to watch her, some bowing in respect, others whispering among themselves. Adrian could feel the tension mounting, the weight of expectation pressing down on him. As they reached a secure chamber, station officials began their formalities. Documents were exchanged, identification verified, and security protocols confirmed. Sarathis observed everything with meticulous attention, her eyes never leaving the humans who had escorted her. Adrian noted the subtle admiration in her gaze, the quiet acknowledgement that he had done more than his duty. Once the formalities concluded, Sarathis turned to Adrian, her expression calm but resolute. "Commander," she said, "now that we are in a safe environment, I wish to speak with you without protocol, without interference. Will you accompany me?" Adrian nodded. "Of course," he said. He followed her down a private corridor leading to a quiet observation lounge, far removed from the bustle of the station. The room overlooked the vast expanse of space, stars stretching endlessly, distant worlds glimmering faintly in the distance. It was a place where conversation could be honest, where decisions could be made without fear of observation. They stood side by side, gazing at the stars. Sarathis was silent for a moment, her thoughts hidden behind her composed expression. Then she spoke, her voice deliberate, carrying both weight and vulnerability. "Adrian Cross, you have proven something to me that no other being has in centuries. You have shown courage, ingenuity, and loyalty. But more than that, you have shown me trust, and in that trust I find something I cannot ignore." Adrian turned to her, his brow furrowed slightly. "Trust?" he repeated. "You mean between us?" Sarathis nodded slowly. "Yes, between us. I have observed your people, your culture, and your actions. I have seen how humans value life, how they protect those they care for, and how they act when faced with impossible choices. You embody those qualities, and I find myself drawn to them, to you." Adrian felt his heart quicken. He had anticipated respect, perhaps gratitude, but this was different. There was a depth in her words, a sincerity that could not be ignored. "Sarathis," he began, but she held up a hand, gently stopping him. "Please listen," she said softly. "What I am about to propose is unusual, even bold. It is not dictated by politics or strategy. It is dictated by what I feel, by the connection we share and the trust you have earned. Adrian Cross, I wish to propose marriage." Adrian froze, caught between shock and disbelief. "Marriage?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. You mean, you want to marry me?" "Yes," she replied, her eyes steady, her tone unwavering. "Not as a political alliance, not as a duty, but as recognition of the bond we have formed. You have saved me, inspired me, and earned my trust. I do not offer this lightly. I offer it because I see in you qualities that my people have not seen for centuries. Courage, loyalty, and humanity." Adrian's mind raced. The implications were enormous. Political, social, and personal. Marrying a Cleari queen could shift alliances, attract scrutiny, and place both him and humanity under intense observation. And yet, beneath the weight of consequence, he felt something undeniable. A sense of honor, connection, and hope. He stepped closer to her, his voice firm but calm. "Sarathis, I am honored, truly. You are unlike anyone I have ever met, and I feel the connection you speak of, but this is not a decision I can take lightly. We must consider the implications, for both our peoples and ourselves." Sarathis inclined her head, her expression patient. "I understand, Adrian. I do not expect an immediate answer. But know this, my proposal is not a fleeting sentiment. It is a choice I make with full awareness of the consequences. I offer it because I trust you, and because I believe in what humans can achieve when they act with courage and honor." Adrian exhaled slowly, feeling the gravity of the moment settle over him. He looked at the stars outside the window, considering the enormity of the universe, the fragility of life, and the rarity of trust between species. Then he turned back to Sarathis, meeting her gaze with determination. "I will consider your proposal carefully. But know this, I will not make a decision based on fear or expectation. I will make it based on what is right, and on what humanity represents." Sarathis's lips curved into a faint smile. "That is all I ask, Adrian. All I ask." Over the next several days, Adrian and Sarathis worked together to navigate the political landscape of the neutral station. They met with diplomats, station officials, and representatives from other species, all of whom observed the Queen and her human companion with varying degrees of curiosity, suspicion, and admiration. Adrian relied on his training, intuition, and understanding of human values to manage each encounter, while Sarathis offered insight, guidance, and quiet support. Through it all, their bond grew stronger. They shared small moments of conversation, laughter, and reflection. Sarathis observed Adrian's interactions with his crew, noting the patience, respect, and care he showed them. Adrian watched as Sarathis handled difficult questions with grace, intelligence, and quiet authority. Together, they demonstrated a partnership built on trust, courage, and mutual respect, qualities that transcended species, politics, and tradition. One evening, as the station's artificial sun set, casting warm light across the observation deck, Sarathis approached Adrian once more. "Adrian, I understand the weight of the choice I have presented. But I must ask, what do you feel?" Adrian met her gaze, steady and unwavering. "I feel that humanity is at its best when it protects, when it trusts, and when it acts with courage. And I feel that, whatever decision I make, I want to honor the bond we have formed. I do not take your proposal lightly. I will give it the consideration it deserves." Sarathis nodded, her eyes reflecting both relief and quiet pride. "That is all I could hope for, Adrian. Whatever you decide, know that you have my trust, my respect, and my admiration." As the artificial night fell over the station, the two of them stood together, gazing at the stars. The universe stretched endlessly before them, full of unknown dangers, opportunities, and challenges. But in that moment, they were not queen and soldier. Human and alien, they were two beings bound by trust, courage, and the beginnings of a connection that could change the course of history. The galaxy outside was vast and unpredictable, but aboard the Falcon's Pride and within the observation deck of the neutral station, something rare and extraordinary was unfolding. A recognition of humanity's courage, a bond forged in adversity, and a proposal that could bridge worlds. Adrian knew that the decision ahead would not be easy. He understood the weight of responsibility, the potential consequences, and the scrutiny that would follow. But he also understood something deeper. The human spirit thrived in the face of challenge, in the pursuit of what was right, and in the courage to trust and connect. And for the first time, he realized that this proposal was not just a choice. It was an opportunity for humanity to show the galaxy what it truly meant to be remarkable. Sarathis's hand brushed lightly against the console beside him, a subtle gesture that spoke more. The neutral station was alive with quiet tension. Word had spread through secure channels that Queen Sarathis was aboard the Falcon's Pride, accompanied by a human who had earned her trust and admiration. Diplomats, officials, and curious onlookers waited, each with their own assumptions, expectations, and agendas. Some whispered of potential alliances, others of betrayal. Yet through it all, Adrian Cross remained focused, guided by the same principles that had carried him through every impossible mission: courage, loyalty, and humanity. Sarathis stood beside him in the observation lounge, her iridescent skin catching the glow of the station lights. She was calm, composed, but there was a tension beneath her regal exterior, a quiet anticipation. The proposal she had made days ago had shifted the dynamic between them, and both understood that a decision must soon be made, not just for themselves, but for the people who would be affected by it. "Adrian," she said softly, her voice carrying that same mixture of authority and vulnerability he had come to respect. "The time has come. Whatever your decision, it must be made soon. My people will act and your people will watch. I ask only that you speak honestly." Adrian nodded slowly, taking a deep breath. "I understand, Sarathis. I've thought about this every day since you spoke, and I realize now that the choice is not just mine. It is a reflection of what humanity represents." Sarathis's eyes studied him, calm and expectant. "Go on," she prompted. Adrian's gaze went to the stars beyond the observation deck, countless points of light stretching into infinity. "Humans survive because we trust, because we act when others hesitate, and because we value life, not just our own, but the lives of others. That is what drew me to you, Sarathis, not just your strength or wisdom, but the way you inspire trust, courage, and hope in others. That is rare in the galaxy, and that is why your proposal matters to me." He turned to face her fully, his eyes steady. "I accept."
I accept because I see in this choice the possibility of building something greater than politics or duty.
"I accept because humans rise to challenges, and this is a challenge worth facing together." Sarathis's eyes widened slightly, and then a faint smile touched her lips. "You truly understand," she whispered. "This is more than I hoped for. I accept you not merely as a human, but as a partner, someone whose courage and integrity reflect the highest ideals of your people." The atmosphere in the observation deck seemed to shift. The tension, the uncertainty, the weight of expectations all faded in that moment. For Adrian and Sarathis, there was only the acknowledgement of trust, courage, and a bond forged in adversity. Their decision, however, could not remain private for long. News spread quickly through secure channels on the station. Human and Cleari diplomats were notified, and representatives from other species began arriving for discussions. Adrian and Sarathis faced a delicate balance, honoring their decision while navigating the potential political consequences. The first meeting was tense. Human diplomats, initially skeptical, listened carefully as Adrian explained the reasoning behind his acceptance. "This decision is not made lightly," he told them. "It is made based on trust, courage, and the values humanity represents. Queen Sarathis and I share a bond that reflects the best qualities of both our peoples. This is not a political maneuver. It is a choice guided by principle." The diplomats exchanged glances, some nodding with understanding, others hesitant. They asked questions about the implications for alliances, trade agreements, and interstellar relations. Adrian answered each calmly, showing that humans could combine courage with careful judgment. His clarity, honesty, and integrity impressed even the most skeptical observers. Meanwhile, Sarathis addressed the Cleari representatives. "You have witnessed the human who saved me," she said, her voice firm yet measured. "You have seen his courage, loyalty, and wisdom. I trust him not as a ruler but as a partner. Our union is founded on trust, respect, and mutual understanding. It is not a political act. It is a demonstration that courage and humanity can bridge worlds." There were murmurs among the council members, some shocked, some intrigued. Centuries of tradition and hierarchy had not prepared them for such a bold declaration. Yet the sincerity in Sarathis's tone, coupled with Adrian's presence, began to sway even the most conservative voices. Over the next several days, the station became a hub of negotiation, discussion, and observation. Humans and Cleari worked together, coordinating security, communications, and public relations. Adrian led with the calm decisiveness that had earned Sarathis's trust, while she offered insight, diplomacy, and guidance. Their partnership, grounded in mutual respect and shared values, became a symbol of what cooperation across species could achieve. In private moments, Adrian and Sarathis shared quiet conversations, laughter, and reflection. They spoke of the battles they had faced, the choices that had brought them together, and the trust that had grown between them. Each moment reinforced their bond, demonstrating that courage, loyalty, and empathy were not just ideals, they were practical strengths that shaped reality. One evening, as the station rotated to catch the light of a distant star, Sarathis approached Adrian with a small ceremonial object in her hands. It was a Cleari token of commitment, intricately designed and glowing faintly with energy. She extended it toward him. "Adrian," she said softly, "this symbolizes the bond we share. It is a commitment not just to each other, but to the values we represent: courage, honor, and trust. Will you accept it?" Adrian took the token, feeling its weight and significance. He looked at Sarathis, her expression calm, confident, and full of quiet hope. "I accept," he said firmly. "I accept because it represents the best of humanity, and the possibility of building something extraordinary together." The moment was brief, but it carried immense significance. The human crew, the Cleari representatives, and even neutral observers witnessed a partnership founded on courage, trust, and mutual respect. It was a reminder that humans, though small in the cosmic scale, could act in ways that transcended fear, politics, and tradition. News of the acceptance spread throughout the station. Some were skeptical, some intrigued, but all recognized the courage required to make such a choice openly. Adrian and Sarathis became a symbol not of conquest or obligation, but of what it meant to act with integrity and humanity. In the following days, preparations began for a formal ceremony. While the union was not purely political, it carried implications that required careful coordination. Adrian worked closely with diplomats, security personnel, and Sarathis herself, ensuring that every detail honored both humans and Cleari traditions. The process was meticulous, but every step reinforced the principles they both valued: respect, trust, and courage. The ceremony itself was held in a neutral chamber overlooking the stars. Humans, Cleari, and representatives from other species gathered, witnessing a union that transcended politics. Adrian and Sarathis stood side by side, not as conqueror and subject, not as soldier and ruler, but as equals, partners united by trust, courage, and shared values. When the vows were spoken, they were simple, honest, and heartfelt. Adrian promised to uphold trust, protect life, and act with courage. Sarathis promised to honor his integrity, respect his humanity, and share leadership in a partnership founded on mutual understanding. The exchange of the Cleari token sealed their commitment, a symbol of unity, courage, and hope. As the ceremony concluded, applause and quiet acknowledgement filled the chamber. Diplomats and representatives alike recognized that this was not just a union of two beings, but a demonstration of what could be achieved when courage, trust, and empathy guided action. Humans, small yet formidable, had shown that their qualities could inspire change, bridge worlds, and create alliances founded on principle rather than fear. After the ceremony, Adrian and Sarathis stood together, gazing out at the endless expanse of space. The universe remained vast, unpredictable, and often dangerous, but for the first time, they felt a sense of certainty. They had acted with courage, honored trust, and demonstrated humanity at its finest. "You have done more than I could have imagined," Sarathis said softly, her hand brushing against Adrian's. "You have shown the galaxy that courage and humanity matter, that even in the face of uncertainty, choices guided by honor can shape the future." Adrian smiled faintly. "And you've shown me that trust, respect, and connection are worth every risk. Together, we've proven that humanity can rise to challenges, and that we can inspire even those who have seen centuries of war and distrust." The stars outside stretched endlessly, a reminder of the infinite possibilities that lay ahead. But within the quiet observation deck, two beings, human and Cleari, stood united, ready to face the future together. They had faced impossible odds, navigated political tension, and discovered a connection that transcended species. And in that connection, they found hope, courage, and the extraordinary potential of humanity. The universe was vast, but humans had proven that even a single person, guided by courage and honor, could change the course of events. And Adrian Cross, alongside Queen Sarathis, would continue to demonstrate that humanity was not just another species among stars. It was a force of ingenuity, compassion, and unyielding bravery. As they looked at the stars, hand in hand, they knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy